Good evening, everyone. All right. We are ArabyAds. We empower e-commerce marketing. In simple words, we provide platforms for e-commerce marketing. And I thought, let me take this opportunity to share some of the data that we produce on a regular basis. So my topic for today would be e-commerce marketing trends for 2022. I've spent last 20 years in digital advertising across US, APAC, and Middle East. And the most unique aspect of Middle East is that there's not a lot of data that's available, right? We talk about e-commerce, but nobody knows what is the size of the e-commerce industry. We all work, our advertisers are in e-commerce, but we don't know what is the size of the e-commerce industry. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about are the industry insights. This is a research that we put together at ArabyAds, and we believe in 2021, e-commerce is expected to cross $34.5 billion for MENA. Methodology, this is primary research, expert interviews, and what we contribute to the e-commerce market. We practically work with 95% of the e-commerce brands, large brands. So trust me, these numbers are correct. So next time, all of my marketing friends are planning a media plan, these are the numbers that you're referring to. So 34.5 in 2021. But guess what? In 2019, we were about 14 billion only. So in 2 years, our e-commerce industry has more than doubled. And it's obviously growing very fast. But by the way, before I move to this pie chart, e-commerce in MENA is the fastest growing in the world. I mean, that surprises you, but in terms of percentages, it's the fastest growing region in the world, more than China, more than US. If you look at the country-wise contribution, no surprises here. KSA contributes the maximum with about 38% at about 13 billion, give or take, followed by UAE and Egypt. But you know, these markets are, with the adoption of internet and deeper penetration, there is a huge room to grow. Let me also show you another aspect of these numbers. When we look at e-commerce, we also try and analyze as a percentage of the GDP, right? Our market is growing, but what is the contribution of e-commerce in our GDP, right? UAE, 2%, KSA, under 2%, likewise Egypt. If I benchmark these numbers against the developed markets, USA is at about 4%, and China is at 16%. So you can imagine the scope of growth for e-commerce for this region. Another analysis of the numbers, I hope no surprises, but fashion, electronics, along with travel, mobility, and accommodation lead the category-wise breakup. There is a slight downward trend in travel, mobility, and accommodation, and that's why I combined all of it, obviously because of obvious reasons. But for 2022, we see it growing further. Complicated slide, but if you want any country, which is any of the MENA countries, and dissected by any analysis, right, which is by category, by time period, we've got you covered. This report, by the way, is available on our website, which is www.arabyads.com. You can download it there as well. So with this growth, I can safely say that we are all in the right industry. All right, let me move on with the theme. Once you've established that we are looking at about 34 billion worth of e-commerce goods sold in MENA, let me move on with the theme of the event. That's predictions. And what I have for prediction, I understood that all of you would be marketers. So I divided my predictions in 3 categories. Without going too much in details, I'm going to cover about emerging technologies that are affecting you on a daily basis. The marketing trends, which are already here, but they're going to amplify further in 2022 and beyond, and what is the unique aspect of our region, which is MENA. And with that, the first important element in the emerging technologies is AI. And I'm going to use support from this photograph. The old days when we used to walk into a nearby grocery store, the person or the salesperson would address you by the name, knows what your shopping habits are, at the checkout counter, she would tell you these are the regular things that you forgot to pick up, and you can add it to your basket. In technical terms, in today's term, we call it product suggestions, right? You need to create that personalized experience on digital. And trust me, it's humanly impossible to do it. That's why we use AI. Another number that I'm going to throw here is that some of you might be surprised that these product suggestions for Amazon contributes to 35% of the revenue, which means you were not directly looking for these products, but using technology, Amazon suggested you these products, and that's how you ended up buying these products. For all my marketing friends, AI, I'm talking about AI, but I did not define AI. Let me define it in very simple terms. AI is a technology that helps you create either applications, services, or program with learning ability and decision-making ability. All of you media planners would know what is the response from each media channel. You would apply certain rules and optimize the media. The same, if you take it to technology, would become AI. That in very, very simple words. AI should be used across the entire marketing mix. If I take the reference from Philip Kotler for my MBA friends, either I call it 4 Ps or 7 Ps, it should be across. Product placements, the way your consumer is interacting with you on your website, all of it should be governed by AI with the objective of creating a hyper-personalized experience. How can you customize the experience for your user on the application or on the web? Use AI to do that. Wow, we've been talking about this in the last 2 years, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but the topic is, as part of my emerging trends, is headless commerce. Anybody heard of this term called headless commerce? Show of hands? No? Let me break it down to you. 10 years back, when we started creating e-commerce, there was a single application. Used to take care of the entire processing, consumer behavior, everything in one app. About half a decade back, we segregated that and created something called as a CDP, right? Which is the customer layer. So you know your customers better. And in the last 2 years, we've been talking about headless commerce. Without going too much into details, how can I segregate or separate my front end with my back end? Why is it relevant for you as a marketer? It provides a consistent and a smooth experience for users. Today, your users are interacting across various screens, right? Whether it's web, whether it's apps, whether it's the future, the IoT of things, this is what the future will be. This is a simple, I'm on to my third topic in emerging technologies, which is retail media. A simple screenshot of a search for headphones on Amazon as well as Walmart. You see the space is monetized, right? A data point says that 74% of the US consumers don't start their product search on Google. They started on a marketplace, right? Google was the most traffic source for most intent-driven. Today it's changing, it's the marketplace, right? So how can you monetize this traffic on your website, on your app? We also have a product called Retailer. Talk to my team afterwards. But it's increasingly becoming important to monetize for you as marketers the traffic that you are generating on your website and app. My God, I just want to skip this slide because we've had a 20-minute session on AR, so it's all about AR, but I'm going to skip this because we've had a very good presentation by Snapchat team. And finally, on the emerging technologies, it surprises me that even today when I speak to a lot of marketers, how the separate teams are working in silos and don't have a single view of customers. It's extremely important for you as marketers to invest in either technology or a software that gives you a single window. Think about it, if you're an advertiser or if you're from the agency, how many of your advertisers have a unique customer ID or a unique identifier? That's extremely important. You need to convince your clients, or if you're a client yourself, invest in technology that provides you omni-channel experience or single window of your customer. So those were my 5 technologies for 2022. If I talk about market trends, again, spoken about it in extreme level of details about social importance of the social media or social commerce. I'm only going to quote one number, which is that the advertising spends on social media is supposed to cross 1.1 billion for our region. That's huge. Live streaming. Couple of examples. Kim wanted to launch her new perfume in China. She did not fly down. She used live streaming. And in few minutes, the entire stock was sold. There is a guy called Austin in China. Austin. He went live with live streaming and generated $1.7 billion worth of goods in 12 hours. And last year, on the same day, today we are on Singles Day, right? In 30 minutes of Taobao going live, $7.5 billion worth of goods were sold. In 30 minutes. We've already seen some usage of live streaming for our region, but my predictions are in 2022 and beyond, it's going to be a huge impact. 2021, in China only, it's expected to cross $300 billion. But let me give you the surprising news. Live streaming was introduced in China in 2017, and the entire business was $3 million. Not 3 billion, 3 million. From 3 to 300 in 4 years. Connected TV, right? I'm sure all of us owns a TV today in our living rooms which is connected to the internet. Imagine you as an advertiser, the ability to buy audiences on that TV. Today when I speak to some of the OEMs on the television side, let me quote an example of Samsung, they are shifting their entire business from a device or a TV manufacturer to a media company. In US, Samsung is generating more revenue by connected TV advertising than by selling the TVs. I'm going to give you one more example, and that might be a surprise to you. Xiaomi is launching a smart TV in India for $100. So everybody is connected. For you as a marketer, why it is important, why it is a trend? Imagine the ability to buy audiences on the big screen, right? You want to create a campaign targeting people based out of Palm, or let's say JLT or Marina, and imagine if you're able to target them on a connected TV with measurable metrics. And that leads me to the fourth, which is programmatic direct-to-home. Programmatic digital out-of-home, from connected TV to out-of-home. The very evolution of, let's say, digital was the measurability of it, right? All of the advertisers started asking, how am I measuring the advertising? What is the ROI? Imagine if we can do the same thing to programmatic. There are a number of experiments that we've done and has happened in the last 12 months for targeting audience in DIFC for specific brands. When you travel, you must have noticed on the Sheikh Zayed Road that most of the out-of-home screens are converting into digital screen. You as advertisers, imagine if you can buy audiences on those screens with measurability. We've spoken about this a number of times earlier also today, but every time we speak to advertiser, it shifts to cost of customer acquisition. I strongly believe, and the conversation I've started for this region, that we should shift that to customer lifetime value. This formula can be customized to each brand. Right? In very simple words, average order frequency, gross margin divided by churn rate. But you can customize this formula for yourself, but move away the conversations from acquiring a customer and the cost you pay for that first transaction to a lifetime value. Now, you as a brand define the time frame for that. Is it 3 months, 6 months, or annual? But yeah, we need to move away from the cost of CAC, that we call it, as a marketing KPI to CLV. That was my final trend on the marketing KPIs. Regional differences. If you look at US, I'm sure all of you know there's a company called Iron Source, which is a listed company. Huawei is doing one fantastic. Samsung is doing fantastic in terms of on-device advertising. Today, all the advertising that we're doing on devices or mobile phones is after a user logs into a particular app or you're searching for a particular information. But on Android devices, there is a way you can start advertising on the device itself. And I know the next session is about ad frauds, but this inventory is completely ad fraud free. So on-device advertising, I believe, is a big regional difference, but it should start happening for our region as well. Why is e-commerce still not evolving for our region, and what is the specific region bias? Is the payment method. If you look at the graph on the right side, it's biased and the percentages are higher largely because of China and India, because they are actually transacting online and making the payments online. But if you look at for MENA, only 30% are using digital payment as an option, plus 60% are still opting for cash on delivery, which leads to a huge problem for our industry. We at ArabyAds believe that it should go down below 50%, but that's a concern for our industry, and it should go down in the years to come. We spoke a lot about e-commerce and the size of the e-commerce, but three important categories within the e-commerce are edutech, game tech, or gaming, which includes esports, fantasy. In some parts of the world, it also includes RMG, which is real money gaming, and in-game purchases, along with subscription services. I believe that MENA is yet to experience the growth here. These three categories, which are contributing massive numbers in the Western world, and some of the e-commerce developed economies are yet to contribute significantly here. And fourth, the availability of venture funding. For last 3 years, consecutively, we were stuck at $1 billion as the amount of money invested in startups, e-commerce-related startups. And in 2021, from January 1st to, I think this data is still September or August, I'm not sure, but yeah, we've already seen a 100% increase. So the more money is available for startups, we will see a huge growth for the e-commerce category itself. And finally, I call this shopper's commerce as well. We started with celebrity endorsement, then we moved to influencers, which were mega influencers. And this is one particular aspect where MENA is leading, and it's exponentially doing very well, is utilizing nano and micro influencers. We all know that their engagement rates are higher because the audience is very well connected, but let me also give you a news that the conversion rates are the highest for nano and micro influencers. And I would request that when we are doing our own media planning, we should keep this trend also in mind. And I still have about a few seconds left, so if I have to summarize my presentation and the output for you guys, 34 billion worth of e-commerce in 2021, going up to 48 billion in 2022. For you as marketers or advice to clients, focus in technology that can give you a single view of your customers. Do not let your team operate in silos. And finally, on the influencers piece, social commerce driven by nano, micro influencers with live streaming is going to play a huge role for MENA, for our e-commerce industry. Thank you.